When you think of the strongest Jujutsu sorcerer, who comes to mind? Any casual JJK fan may say Gojo, but you can't really call Gojo the strongest when he himself claims he would have lost even if Sukuna didn't have the 10 Shadows technique. We know Sukuna is the strongest character in the story given the display of all his feats, but what about the rest? This is Anime Scope, keeping you in the scope of your favorite anime and manga. If you enjoy the content, please leave a like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell. That would help us out a ton in the algorithm. Likes are a guiding metric on YouTube. It helps the channel grow tremendously. The best part is that it's completely free. Thanks in advance. In the wake of the recent power scaling developments, this video is going to be about the top 10 strongest Jujutsu Kaisen sorcerers. Do note that we won't be talking about characters like Mahito or Mahoraga because the former is a cursed spirit and the latter is a Shikigami. Still, even without them, this is going to be quite an interesting list. Number 10, Toji and Maki. Yup, both Toji and Maki are number 10 on this list. The reason being that Toji and Maki both have the similar feats and abilities due to their heavenly restriction. Now, what makes these two so strong is that they are both anomalies in the Jujutsu system, as both have a similar heavenly restriction. This shouldn't come as too much of a shock considering that they're cousins. You might be wondering, what is a heavenly restriction? In Jujutsu Kaisen, heavenly restriction is when sorcerers are born with restrictions in return for skills or qualities. In essence, a deal is made during this period, affecting the sorcerer's body with cursed energy in return for something else. The first and most common type of heavenly restriction is one that significantly reduces or even eliminates the sorcerer's cursed energy. This is done to substantially increase the sorcerer's body and physical capabilities to an unmatched degree. This is the case for Toji and Maki. The complete reverse is true of the second type of heavenly restriction. Because of this, the user's ability to employ a great deal of cursed energy for their cursed skills is significantly diminished in terms of physicality. The restriction that grants Mekamaru or Kokichi Muta is said to provide far more cursed energy than the typical sorcerer, which makes sense because practically all his physicality is given up in return for his enormous reservoir of cursed energy. So, at the cost of not having any cursed energy at all, Toji and Maki were blessed with immense, unfathomable physical prowess. Plus, refined senses to boot. Heck, even when the granny summoned him using her technique, she could not control him because Toji's gifted body just casually denied her and became resurrected for a ridiculous amount of time. He can cut through a large, cursed spirit with ease, and he's so fast that Gojo can't see or sense him. There is no other way to go about it. Toji is one of them ones! And Maki is now the same. She may be a bit less experienced than Toji, but as a sorcerer, she is on the same level. You could call her female Toji, and you won't be wrong. Only exception being her fighting style is different and has less experience. Fans must understand that Maki is just as powerful as Toji was in his peak. Toji, as evidenced in his encounter against Gojo, was past his prime. He said that he was rusty and not at his best during this period. While battling against Gojo, he was still getting the swing of fighting opponents of his stature. But as far as these two are concerned, they can see inorganic matter and even grab hold of normally imperceivable changes in air density and temperature. That's scary good. Though Toji and Maki may be unreasonably strong, they have no way to deal with people who can use domain expansions. For example, if Mahito used domain expansion on Toji, he would have had his entire soul idle transfigured, and that would have been the end of it. Number 9, Yorozu. Moving on, we have Yorozu at number 9. Yorozu from 1,000 years ago, who was absolutely, unapologetically obsessed with Sukuna. However, what's worth mentioning is that she was one of the strongest sorcerers from what is allegedly the golden age of Jujutsu. It's a shame that the only fight we get to see of her is Sukuna not even taking her seriously, but hey, it is what it is. In that fight, she is up against 15-finger Sukuna, and her objective was to make Sukuna use his own cursed technique. Of course, Sukuna never does that, not even after she uses her domain expansion. He just brings out Mahoraga and ends it. But what was her domain exactly? Well, it's called Threefold Affliction, and it's mostly just blank space with some weird organic stuff floating around, and as her sure hit effect goes, it's about attacking the opponent with her constructed item, which in this case was a true sphere. Yes, it sounds very trivial, and I have to admit, I chuckled a bit when I first read it, but we have to keep in mind that a perfect sphere is something that is impossible to create. Remember in art class when your teacher asked you to draw a perfect circle with no tools? It's not as easy as it sounds, but it's because such a sphere would generate infinite pressure when applied with her sorcery ability due to it having no contact area. And why is this a problem? Because it means that if you're not a top-tier sorcerer like Sukuna or Gojo, you would be destroyed. But Sukuna brings out Mahoraga, who immediately uses his sword of extermination that adapts to her true sphere, and it's over. All in all, it wasn't really a fight. It was a display of power at best, and we all know who did it best. But more can be said about the next sorcerer on this list. Number 8, Kashimo Hajime. We have Hajime Kashimo at number 8. He was the strongest sorcerer 400 years ago. He was basically the Gojo of his era. This is also why he was so adamant in that he gets the chance to fight Sukuna one-on-one. Not only could he move at blazing fast speed with his curse technique, but he could also use sound waves to attack his enemies, which even Sukuna could not dodge. Furthermore, to take things to the next level, he could also vaporize anything using electromagnetic waves on contact, and this was one of the biggest aspects of his cursed technique. The fight happens, and Kashimo was able to overwhelm Sukuna. He was looking unstoppable until Sukuna revealed his trump card, his true incarnated form. And after that, it was pretty much GG's. If what Sukuna did against Yorozu can't be considered a proper fight, his fight against Kashimo was a main event. Now, speaking a little bit about Kashimo's abilities, he is referred to as the God of Lightning, and his innate cursed technique allows him to reconstruct his flesh to achieve a higher state of being. It's called Mythical Beast Amber, and it can only be used once. Though it's a shame we never got to see him use a domain expansion, this may be why some fans put Yorozu above him. But another thing to note here is how domain expansions were much more common 1,000 years ago. Like, for example, Higuruma has a domain, but Nanami or Todo doesn't. It's the same here. Even if Kashimo doesn't have a domain, he is still stronger than Yorozu based on feats alone. But neither of them can top our next sorcerer on this list. Number 7, Hakari Kinji. Up next at number 7, we have Hakari. It's very simple why I placed Hakari above Kashimo. He has a domain expansion and he also won against Kashimo. Now, as strong as Hakari may be, he is still not considered a special grade sorcerer like Yuta, Yuki, Geto, or Gojo. Though you can argue that Jujutsu politics played a role there, comment below why you believe Hakari wasn't deemed special grade. So back to Hakari, when Itadori asked about him, Yuta said that when Hakari gets worked up, he is stronger than him. Of course, Maki immediately denies it, but considering Hakari's domain expansion, there may be a little bit of truth there. His domain expansion is called Idle Death Gamble. It creates a game of chance where if he can hit the jackpot, he becomes unkillable for 4 minutes and 11 seconds. But the thing is, Hakari has an unholy amount of luck. The odds of him hitting the jackpot are only 1 out of 239, but he would hit the jackpot and he would do it multiple times. This is Kinji Hakari's power. His luck has always got his back. Number 6, Geto Suguru. At number 6, we have Suguru Geto, a special grade sorcerer. Back when he and Gojo were still students, they used to call themselves the strongest, but of course, it changed after Gojo awakened during the fight against Toji. However, if a mutant prodigy like Gojo has ever had a rival, it was Geto. What made him so strong and dangerous was his cursed spirit manipulation. Suguru was able to control vagabond cursed spirits. It was disgusting though, because he would have to literally ingest cursed spirits after turning them into horrible snacks. As we saw in the Jujutsu Kaisen 0 film, Geto had over 4,000 curses under his control. Which brings us to his ultimate technique, Maximum Uzumaki. Think about what would happen if all of the curses were combined into one overwhelmingly powerful attack. Yes, 4,000 curses all meshed together into one powerful attack. Rika easily demolished all of them though. Number 5, Yuki Tsukumo. Next we have another special grade sorcerer, this one is Yuki. She is arguably the strongest lady in Jujutsu Kaisen and is also bae! Unlike Geto, who may or may not have had a domain expansion, it was confirmed that Yuki can use a domain. We didn't get the chance to see her do it though, because of the place where the fight took place, but her innate technique is still pretty stacked. It's called Star Rage, and it basically allows her to grant virtual mass to herself and her Shikigami. Think about it this way. If someone is about to punch you, but they also give themselves 500 pounds more virtual mass, wouldn't that punch hurt you a little bit more because of the additional mass? This is what Yuki's cursed technique is all about. Her Shikigami, named Garuda, is also directly connected to her technique, which is pretty handy because it can be used as a cursed tool, and it can also be made to fight independently. Plus, she also has reverse cursed technique. Heck, it's because she has reversed curse technique as well as domain expansion that I've put her above Geto. To be fair, Kenjaku is like an evolved Geto and she almost had him with a literal black hole, but the dude then somehow pulled out an anti-gravity technique and pulled through. And they say Sasuke has the best plot armor. Number 4, Yuta Okotsu. After Yuki, we have Yuta at number 4, and this is kind of tough because at the time of this video, the latest chapter we see Yuta is chapter 243, and we literally see him decapitate Kenjaku in that chapter. However, it's also clear that Kenjaku is not done yet, not even close. Let's wait and see. Now, what exactly makes Yuta so strong? It's everything. He has more cursed energy than Gojo, he has been confirmed to be the second strongest Jujutsu sorcerer after Gojo, and he has Rika, who is allegedly the queen of curses. Yuta's innate curse technique is copy, which allows him to copy other people's techniques and even use multiple of them in succession. He is broken when it comes to this because of his almost immeasurable cursed energy. He has reverse curse technique, and he also has a domain expansion. Seriously, Yuta is only 17 years old, and he is about as strong as someone can be without 6 eyes. Number 3, Kenjaku. Of course, at number 3, we have Kenjaku. He can do everything Geto could do, but he can also do much more. You see, Kenjaku's curse technique allows him to take over other people's bodies. He also gets their memories and innate techniques, and what's really scary is that he keeps their techniques even after moving on to a new host. This is evident by how he used Itadori's mom's anti-gravity against Yuki's black hole. We don't even know half of what he may be capable of, but what we do know is that this man is comparable to Sukuna in terms of Jujutsu knowledge. His domain is also an open barrier type like Malevolent Shrine. And yes, he is proficient in reverse curse technique as well. Geto was already one of the strongest, and the thing about Kenjaku is how he can do everything Geto could do, but he can also do a lot more. Overall, if Kenjaku somehow takes over Takaba's body, it's over for our protagonists. Number 2, Gojo Satoru. We have Gojo Satoru at number 2, as the first person in 400 years to inherit both the Limitless and 6 Eyes. He is the pride of the Gojo family. It is heavily implied throughout the story that Gojo is the strongest of his clan's history. When word got out about his inherited abilities, there was a 100 million yen bounty put on his head. When he was born, the balance of the Jujutsu world shifted. It was because of this shift that a higher caliber of curses was produced in an attempt for balance. Allow me to explain. When Gojo was born, it was predicted that the world would change. Curses all throughout the world got stronger because of his birth. This occurred because the current era is substantially weaker than the previous eras. Sorcerers gain strength via combat, and because the current age is tranquil, the ensuing sorcerers and curses are weaker by default, when compared to prior eras with continual conflicts and slaughter. Satoru was born in an era of less capable sorcerers. His birth essentially improved the average of the modern era due to how strong he is. Stronger sorcerers mean more cursed energy or negative emotions, which means stronger cursed spirits, such as Mahito's group, which calls for stronger sorcerers. I'd also like to point out that Gojo isn't just strong for this era, but strong in general. The fact that he got Sukuna's attention speaks to his power. If he wasn't actually up to par, I imagine Sukuna would have brushed him off. By the time Gojo reached adulthood, he was able to completely master his inherited abilities. Limitless, infinity, blue, red, purple, he can do it all. It's also worth mentioning that very few knew Hollow Purple, and Gojo mastered it as a teenager. His mastery of reversed curse technique even left Yuta speechless. Not to mention his domain expansion, which was on par with Sukuna's malevolent shrine. Guys, when it comes to Gojo, there is little left to be said. He is him, and if you read the manga up until chapter 235, you'd never be able to guess that he'd be all sliced up in the next one. Number 1, Ryomen Sukuna. Alright, this brings us to the number 1 on this list, and it's Sukuna, aka the Body Snatcher. I mean, seriously, this dude puts Orochimaru to shame. The thing about Sukuna is that even though he may not have something as flashy as 6 Eyes or the Limitless, he still outclasses Gojo in everything else. Take his cursed energy reserves, for example. They surpass that of Yuta, who already surpasses Gojo when it comes to cursed energy. His innate curse technique is still unknown. Seriously, it's insane how he has already fought and killed Gojo, but we still don't know about his own technique. We're closing in on 250 chapters. Why is it still a secret? We'll see when the story cuts back to the fight against Sukuna, but for now, what we do know is that Sukuna can basically cut and slice up pretty much anything, even the space that exists within infinity. That's how he got Gojo. Furthermore, his domain expansion, Malevolent Shrine, was called different by the narrator because it doesn't create a separate space using a barrier. The narrator also added that the ability to realize one's innate domain without using a barrier is akin to an artist painting a masterpiece not on a canvas, but on air. A truly divine technique. Of course, Sukuna is fluent in reverse cursed technique, and the way he was so easily able to use 10 shadows right after taking over Megumi is a testament to his masterful understanding of Jujutsu as a whole. There is no other way to go about it. Gojo himself admitted defeat, and that's why Sukuna is the strongest. And with that said, this was our list of the top 10 strongest Jujutsu Kaisen sorcerers, guys. The top 2 may be set in stone, but do you agree with the rest? Who do you think should have been on this list? Feel free to go wild in the comment section. Let's continue this discussion. I'll see you guys on my next video.